2021, Paquito and Dineno were just 2 matches away from taking the #1 spot from Lebron and Galán. Since then, the #1 ranking had never been this tight until today, because in the moment of highest pressure for Tapia and Coello, they've become even stronger mentally. Because in Dubai we got another classico. But not only that, we also had the farewell of Lebron and Stupa and the farewell of Dineno and Osburger. So do you wanna know what happened in Dubai? And what each pair needs to do to become #1? Hello all players, I'm Pablo and I welcome you to a new 4Set. Let's start with the point of the tournament, because this time it wasn't easy for me to choose, but this one for Lebron, who managed to rescue it from outside the court, hit a perfect low, come in and win it with his mass, is crazy. In fact, Lebron has been one of the players who felt most comfortable with the court and the balls in Dubai, some of the fastest of the season, and if not, just look at this smash. But for every good moment there's a bad one too, because he also had the fail of the tournament, or the funny moment when he tried to shake Stupa's hand and this happened.
Perdona, tío, dame la mano, por favor.
It wasn't gonna be easy for Lebron and Stupa in their last tournament as a pair, facing in the quarterfinal their future partners. In fact, before the match started, Stupa joked like this about the situation. That match was an epic battle, also because of Stupa's injury in the back. That discomfort kept him from playing 100% and forced Lebron to take over the match. And he was exactly the MVP with 35 winners at only 12-4-0 in 3 sets, winning 7-6 in the last one. At the net greeting, we even saw Lebron kissing Leo on the cheek, and the reunion of Stupa with Dineno that we will see again in just a few days. And once everyone greeted each other, Stupa and Lebron said what will be their last words as a pair.
Con Franco, que va a ser nuestro último torneo, con Charlie también, que lo estoy disfrutando mucho, pese lo que pese, animal. Bueno, hemos sido una gran pareja, 2 tíos muy buenos, y la verdad que te deseo siempre lo mejor, tú lo sabes.
Pido disculpas a Leo y a Martín también, porque jugar contra una persona que por ahí está tocada es difícil. Lo hicieron muy bien, me respetaron muy bien, así que se lo agradezco. Son nuestros futuros compañeros, como dijiste vos. Y nada, ganase el que ganase hoy, creo que vamos a estar contentos todos.
Stupa and Lebron will reach the semifinals against Chingalán. And with doubts about Stupa's physical condition, the first set ended at 6-1 for Chingalán. So were Stupa and Lebron finally gonna say goodbye as a pair? That wasn't their plan, because they got a break in the second set, but Chingalán broke back right away. They will get to the tiebreak, and there the world #2 didn't miss, as the padel intelligence stats show. And that is how the Lebron and Stupa pair comes to an end, a pair that joined at the start of the year with the goal of becoming #1. They were the pair that started the season the strongest, but with injuries along the way, they couldn't really compete with the 2 best pairs in the world. That last set, the 7-6, is a nice final test for this super pair, because along the way there were tons of tense, funny moments, but always trying to bring out the best in each other. There were 2 other pairs in the spotlight before the big final, but let me congratulate Lamperti, because this week was his birthday. And Miguelito just turned 47, and from what it looks like, next year he will be continued competitor. But the ones who are already discovering their love for padel are Garrido and Campagnolo, because after a bad season, Garrido and Campa joined forces for the 3rd time to do the simplest and hardest thing of all: be competitive again, and Dubai was their tournament. In the round of 16, they beat Koki and Yanguas, and in the quarters, Momo and Frank Guerrero. So that is how they reached Campagnolo's first Premier Padel semifinals, and Garrido broke a streak of more than a year without reaching a semifinal. So the emotion was massive, and if you don't get emotional with these images, you don't like padel. with that emotion, they reached the toughest semifinals of all against Tapia and Coello. That match was dominated by the number ones, but there was a moment of disconnection from Coello that I have never seen before. Since Coello volleys the opponent's serve, he automatically loses the point. Obviously, he didn't mean to, but it's normal that you do send the ball back quickly so they can serve again, but not in competition. Another pair that was close to pulling off something epic was Tello and Edu Alonso. They managed to beat Paquito and John in the round of 16, a pair coming off a final in Egypt and semifinals in Kuwait, and see Edu's emotion after winning that match. This way, Edu reached his third quarterfinals of the season, but they were gonna be against Chingalán in an epic match. With an Imperial Tello and a Warrior Edu as the padel intelligence stats show, they tried everything, getting to the tiebreak in the second set until Chingalán said enough to close it 6-4, 7-6. That meant we were gonna get what we all wanted, another clásico between Tapia and Coello and Galán Chingotto, the best padel match in the world in the most intense moment possible. Because since the summer break, Chingalán had been doing something that seemed impossible, beating Tapia and Coello more often. Actually 3-2 for Chingalán in the head-to-head after summer, but with a bad stat, because they have never managed to beat the number ones 3 times in a row. And another stat in favor of the number ones is that they have never gone 3 tournaments in a row without winning. But my friend, this was a final with everything on the line, and barely 7 days earlier Chingalán had beaten them with another epic comeback. So was Coello gonna hesitate too much in his cross-court battle with Chingotto? Was Galán gonna be sharper than Tapia with his smash? Well, the final started like the last ones, with the number ones breaking right away and setting the pace. They won the first set 6-3 with a level from all 4 players that was close to excellence. And I don't know what you guys think, but for me every clásico is better than the last one. But when that first set ended, Coello saw his number one mentality.
Con un solo break somos hasta capaces, o sea, haciéndolo mal lo sacamos. Ahora no se juega, ahora se va todo. La forma más fácil de hecho de esta situación es tirar. El resto siempre un punto es por salvar y correr y ganárselo. Solo por correr y por llegar.
The second set started much close, no early break, and it was the exact same script as Kuwait and Milano. Chingalán lost the first set and then made an epic comeback. So Coello knew it, and that is why in the next change he bumped up Tapia to do what he does best.
El esfuerzo de arriba, no te pienses que es de la mano con la fuerza. Tu esfuerzo tiene que ser, en cuanto ves en el globo, acelerar las patas por abajo para llegar con las 2 patas, no con una. Así te apoyas, y si tú te apoyas, da igual de dónde le pegues, la traes de toda la pista.
Tapia and Coello got the break in the second set and everything seemed to be going their way, so the frustration was on Chingalán's side as we saw on the bench.
Luego sabemos que esto es un partido, ¿vale? Venga. Ahora es el momento de ser valiente, ¿vale? Venga.
With nothing to lose, down 5-4 in the second set, Chingalán had to try to pull off something epic, but it wasn't their day. Because they missed 2 returns and the smile 7 days later switched sides because Tapia and Coello won again. So if we look at the padel intelligence stats, we see it definitely wasn't Chingotto's match, with more than double his unforced errors compared to his winners. Something super weird from a player like him. In fact, he was the player with the most errors in the final. And it's incredible the work off the court from Prato and Canali, because barely 7 days after the painful loss in Kuwait, they managed to flip the tactics completely. And actually, once the match ended, Coello admitted this.
Tenemos la suerte de que Agustín y yo trabajamos de la misma forma, hayamos ganado el torneo anterior o lo hayamos perdido. Y yo creo que en el deporte y a lo largo de mi carrera será difícil que encuentre eso, por lo cual he decidido que cada minuto de la relación que tengamos, que ojalá que sea por muchos años, la voy a disfrutar a full. No voy a volver a sufrir más y voy a disfrutar de poder trabajar con alguien de la forma que lo hacemos.
And now the $1,000,000 question. Who is gonna finish number 1? Well, there are two quick and clear answers. The first is that both pairs depend on themselves. So if Chingalán win in Mexico and Barcelona, they will be number 1. But Tapia and Coello have it easier because if they win in Acapulco, they will be number 1. Because the current difference in the race is 1,080 points. Winning the Acapulco Major gives 2,000 points and the Barcelona Finals 1,500. So if both pairs reach the final in both tournaments like they usually do, the maximum difference that can be cut is 1,400. However, Chingalán are signed up for the FIB Platinum in Veracruz this week. To be honest, I don't think they will end up playing that tournaments because they will end up with more tournaments than the ones that count for the race. That means that if they win the Platinum, instead of adding 300 points, they will only add 120. Because that is the difference between that tournament and the worst one of the season. But if they played it and win it, they will be 960 points behind Tapia and Coello, which in practical terms still forces them to win the major and the finals. So, ladies and gentlemen, everything on the line for the number 1 spot in 2025. Do you think Chingalán will pull off the impossible? Or Tapia and Coello will repeat the number 1? Leave your opinion in the comments. Thank you so much for watching the video and see you in the next one.